Good statistic. COVID vaccine doses administered outnumber new cases 10 to 1. It should be that way, by the way, because of how much volume we have with the vaccine, but it's still good. And those are the kinds of numbers we need if we're going to win variants and cases versus vaccine. We want to keep seeing cases going down. That means masking up. We know that, okay? We also need to start getting the language right. Have you been hearing the words variants and strains kind of interchangeably? They're not the same thing. When a virus becomes stronger, then it's a new strain, okay? So it's a meaningful distinction. And two of the strains already here appear to be more contagious, with the strain linked to the UK on track to become the predominant one next month, okay? So when you hear strain, your ears should peak up a little bit more, all right? Now, the only way you get to the finish line is by taking big steps. That's why you see places like Yankee Stadium becoming mass vaccination sites, and the NFL committing to use every single stadium. You got to get a lot of people in, keep them safe, get them vaccinated, get them out. There's been a lot of talk about treating this like a war, but it's taken more than a year to actually put troops in the field. To be honest, this is all talk, no walk. It's a mistake. The last administration didn't even plan for its own success in getting the vaccine because they didn't plan to administer it. Now you're going to have 1,000 troops to help FEMA. The goal is for them to ramp up to another 450,000 vaccines a day. Now that would be on top of the 1.3 million shots that we're up to every day. Some places are still doing better than others. West Virginia, 85% of the doses they've done have gone into arms. That's good. This isn't just about finishing at the top of the class. Those numbers have a real impact on lives in West Virginia. We're talking about 40 to 45% fewer funerals. Thank God for that. Half as many people needing to go to the hospital. Thank God for that. It all works hand in hand. West Virginia, serious about mandating masks still. Meanwhile, you got Iowa. The governor just said that they are lifting all mandates on masks, all mandates on crowd size and other public health measures. Why? Their positivity rate is 3 times the national average. Their vaccination rate is 47th in the country. Do you know what that is? It's poison thinking in the time of a pandemic, an extension of the GOP queue. This isn't about party. Both governors have an R next to their name, West Virginia and Iowa, but it's telling that the one thing that you hear from both of them, they need more supply. Listen.
We need vaccines, and Phil, we're trying. We're writing letters, and our congressmen are pushing and trying to help. Other than me just running up there and sitting on somebody, we're doing everything. It's coming from all fronts.
Join QAnon. That may get the party behind you. The president, Biden, is now using the Defense Production Act to try to boost production with Pfizer, okay? But the vaccine isn't the only option. That's why he's also talking about increasing at-home tests and more masks. Let's bring in the chief doctor, Sanjay Gupta, to discuss the need. Let's start with the good news. How do you see it?
Chris. Well, cases are down 15% from last week. Hospitalizations down 12%. Those are good numbers. Death rate is still plateaued, but as you know, Chris, that's the last indicator. The vaccine news is good, Chris, as you point out, and all the discussion about the strains, as you correctly defined them. There is evidence that these vaccines do work for what is most important with these strains, which is to decrease hospitalizations, nearly eliminate deaths. I mean, 75,000 people in these clinical trials, Chris, who received a vaccine, and in places like South Africa and Brazil and the UK, where these strains have been circulating for some time, they worked well in those places as well. So, that's the good news. How much more of this, because they are so much more transmissible, how much of a problem is that going to cause going forward? How many more vulnerable people will become infected that otherwise wouldn't have over the next couple of months before the vaccine race can sort of be, before the vaccines can catch up? That's the real concern right now.
The Iowa mentality is the problem. That word of the vaccine and that numbers are going the right way mean that masks don't really matter anymore. What's the converse?
Well, the idea that you would do that at this point, you know, that you would start, because, you know, we're this home run touchdown society. The vaccines are in sight and they are amazing. There's no question about it. But this is not the time to be lifting those types of basic, you know, health measures. You know, Chris, that's the thing that has struck me throughout this entire pandemic. You know, I hold up these masks, N95 here, KN95 here, got these surgical masks here, whatever it is. If you wear one of these things, even besides a vaccine, this is kind of like bubbling yourself, right? I mean, you do this when you go into high-risk situations. That makes a huge difference. You got these states that still, so many months into this pandemic, despite the evidence, you see states that have mask mandates reduce their growth rate of hospitalizations. Not just the number of hospitalizations, they take the fuel out of the fire of the inertia of hospitalizations. And it happens fast. 5.5% drop within a couple of weeks. That makes a big difference. So it's really frustrating and, you know, frankly, really disheartening to see these types of measures getting lifted because people will unnecessarily get sick and so close, really, in the scheme of things, to the finish line.
So starting next week, the time is now for me in terms of accountability for the new administration. What do they know about their inventory and their supply? When are they going to get more masks out there? What is the timing on these things? It's time for action. They've had time to ramp up. They've had time to plan. And now we're going to have to start pushing, as long as it doesn't have to do with Congress, because we know that's not going to go anywhere next week with the impeachment trial. Now, the Friday night surprise. Keep sharp, building a better brain at any age. Now, this book was suggested to me, I won't say by who, as something I need. You trying to tell me something, Gupta?
No, Chris, it's just because I love you like a brother. You know, I mean, no, seriously, come on, you know that. I spent a lot of time on this book, and, you know, I am a neuroscientist, I'm a neurosurgeon, and I was hearing from all these people working in the field for some time that at any age in your life, you could continue to build new brain cells. I found that just that simple statement to be deeply inspiring. I used to think that, look, when you're a baby, your brain's still forming, you can make new brain cells. Maybe in response to an injury like a stroke or traumatic brain injury, maybe you can make new brain cells. The idea that your brain can continuously get sharper throughout your entire life, A, that's inspiring. B, how do you do it? And that's what the book is really about. And if it was me who suggested this book to you, which I think that's what you're suggesting, it is purely out of love. You got a sharp brain, Chris? Keep it that way.
I'm just saying, I got a phone call this morning. You really need this. I'll tell you about it on the show. I probably shouldn't have left it to live television to find this out. But give me a little taste of what people will get to understand about the idea that you get older, your brain declines, and that's just how it is. Why does it not have to be that way?
Yeah. Well, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. Our brains are kind of like how we're living our COVID life right now. We use all of our brains, but right nowadays, you know, you're at home, you drive to the studio, maybe to the grocery store, kids' school, and that's it. You know how to do all that really well. In your brain, the metaphor would be we use 10 to 20% of our brain 80 to 90% of the time. If you start to use other parts of your brain, you start to build cognitive reserve, cognitive resilience, some call it. It's a pretty amazing thing. When you do that, it's kind of like building new roads in your brain that you can travel on. And you're accessing different parts of your brain, which helps you now. You may connect patterns that you otherwise wouldn't see. But more importantly, the roads that you've gotten so used to traveling within your brain, if one of them becomes blocked for some reason, amyloid plaque, tangles, things like that we associate with dementia, if you have no other way to get through to the different destinations in your brain, you're going to have cognitive decline. You'll start to have memory loss. My point is this. If you can build up that reserve in your brain now, it helps you now. It's kind of a fun thing to do, but it can actually help protect you later in life.
Is it something you can do later in life,
plaque
too?
In your brain?
Can you do it later in life?
Yeah,
Can you start at any time?
You can build.
All right.
Yeah, you can build these new brain cells at any point. If those roads become blocked, you have other roads to choose from, you're not going to feel the symptoms. That's the key. There's 47 million people in the country right now. If you were to scan their brains, they might have some evidence of amyloid plaque, things that you associate with dementia. They have no symptoms. What can we learn from them? That's what this book's all about.
I love it. Here is the book. Keep sharp, building a better brain at any age. I am going to buy one of these for all the senior members of my family, and evidently, I need two. Sanjay, beautiful work. I love that you're thinking about us and how to make us better even.